Good morning to one and all present here. I'm Deepshikha, Admissions Manager at Bennett University, Times of India Group. Thank you very much for taking out the time to join us today as we decode liberal arts education at Bennett University. The purpose of this webinar is to share the insights of liberal arts education, its scope and relevance in its highly competitive environment. I welcome Dr. Alexander Andreas, Dean Professor Om Prakash Dwivedi, and Professor Shalini Mittal from School of Liberal Arts, Bennett University, on this panel today to enlighten us. Dr. Alexander is an adjunct professor at Bennett University. He also teaches at Sydney College of the Arts, University of Sydney. Dr. Wansbrough has a number of research interests which broadly center an ideology critique. He is an author of Capitalism and Enchanted Screen, Myths and Allegories in the Digital Age. Another eminent professor, speaker on this panel is Dean Professor Om Prakash Dwivedi, School of Liberal Arts. Dr. Dwivedi is an associate professor of English in the School of Management. His areas of interest lie in the field of Indian writing in English, post-colonial theory, literature, cultural studies, and so on. He sits on the advisory board of internationally renowned Journal of Post-Colonial Writing. He is also the vice chair of the International Research Network Challenging Precarity, a global network. Looking forward to another speaker from School of Liberal Arts, Professor Shalini Mittal for psychology. She has taught courses like forensic psychology, personality theories, and social psychology for over 6 years in Lucknow and Noida campuses of the MIT University. Being trained in the skill of interviewing victims of crime, she continues to volunteer at NGOs working for rehabilitation of women victims and gender equality. She aims to amplify the voices and impact of victims for gender minorities through her research work. Now, before we start the session, please take a virtual tour of the campus here. I hope my screen is shared.
Yeah. It's not audible. We can't hear.
Over to you, Professor.
Yeah, but Deepshikha, I think the
that
audio
was not audible.
No, the audio.
Okay, we'll,
didn't work. But anyway,
we'll share that again at the end of the session. Let me check.
Fine, you can work on that. So, Dr. Shalini, we can start with.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thanks to everyone for joining in to this webinar on Decode Liberal Arts Education, organized by the School of Liberal Arts of Bennett University. So, as already introduced by my colleague Deepshikha, on this panel we have Dr. Andreas Wansbrough, my friend from Australia, and my colleague from Bennett University, Shalini. We all welcome you to this webinar, and we are very pleased to have you with us for this webinar. So we will, in this particular webinar, we will be shedding light on the idea of liberal arts education. What does it mean? What are its relevance? And what kind of career pathways it can provide to learners. So next slide, please, Dr. Shalini. as we see that things around us are changing very rapidly and rampantly. So whatever is visible to us or even meaningful to us may suddenly become redundant or invisible because of the disruption that technology is playing. And there's so many changes happening around us. So when so many updates and changes are happening around us, then education also cannot remain untouched. Therefore, we believe that education should be such that not only focuses on the requirements of the present needs, the present society, that is to say, but also takes care, or let me put it this way, is more future oriented, that takes care of the future needs, future requirements. So this cannot be done by a very old university, a university which doesn't have the infrastructural requirement or even the kind of rigorous research aptitude that is needed. So Bennett University has launched this, the Times of India group has launched this new university, that is Bennett University, which was started in the year 2016. We are in our sixth year, but although we are new, but we have done remarkably well, both in terms of quantity and the quality, in the sense that we have more than 6,000 students on campus. We have lots and lots of funded research projects, both internally funded as well as funded by the government of India. And we also have a kind of an entrepreneurial model on campus that supports startup ideas of our students. So we have vetted out more than 21 crores to our students as part to promote their innovative ideas. So we combine, as you could see, both the knowledge creation and the entrepreneurial skills. Next slide. What's common between the CEOs who built Starbucks, HBO, YouTube, and Walt Disney? Of course, the fact remains that they are all beneficiaries of liberal arts education. And so is the chancellor of our university, the Times of India, the Bennett University, and the MD of Times of India Group, Mr. Vineet Jain. Next slide. A school's distinctiveness at glance. Our pedagogies, it imbibes and it promotes the three different components of learning, that is listening, seeing, and doing. Within these three different components, we make experiential learning an integral part of our learning. So students are not just limited to classroom learning, but we make sure that they go out to spend time both on field and industry as well, in industry, so that they get an idea of the needs of society and the needs of industry. We have faculty members coming from different parts of India, and including top-notch Indian universities and foreign universities. In terms of infrastructure, the video was already played at the very beginning, but let me emphasize that we have an excellent infrastructure in place with air-conditioned lecture halls, special teaching aids, a very advanced library, and a huge library, in fact, which houses plenty of e-resources. We have a very up-to-date wellness center as well, in addition to the sports complex that we run. A holistic learning aptitude is a part of our curriculum. We believe that students should get should be introduced to this kind of a learning process, where not just the mental learning, but also the physical learning and the physical health is taken care of through our extracurricular activities and the sports activities that we regularly do on campus. A student council and student-run initiatives. We have more than 25 student clubs on campus who keep organizing different activities pertaining to arts, law, management, business studies, computer sciences, astronomy. And we also have a BU Research Society, which is run totally by our students. So all those young minds who are more inclined towards research, they are the ones who run this. They are funded. They also get funding to keep this society up and running. And they keep publishing new articles and doing new patents. This is the kind of rigorous work that we have been doing in the School of Liberal Arts at Bennett University. Next slide. USPs of the schools, of course, it happens to be a Times of India venture, an organization that boasts of more than 180 years of rich history. Then you have the freedom to choose from any one of the 12 major courses. The major courses I will be introducing in the next slide, but it is one of the prominent strengths of our courses, in the sense that you get a range of options to choose from, which I can assure you that no university in India at least does it. Liberal arts combined with business studies, again, one of the rare aspects of liberal arts education at BU, that it combines liberal arts philosophy and tries to dovetail it with business aspects, thus enhancing and promoting, even encouraging the entrepreneurial models of thinking. Earn credits for sports, so you're not just playing sports, but you're also accumulating credits towards your degree. And sports, let me add, is an integral part of our curriculum, so it is mandated. We have a pool of renowned faculty from India and foreign countries. You can visit the School of Liberal Arts website and check that out. Student exchange programs with foreign universities. We have more than 78 MOUs tied up with foreign universities, and throughout the year, the students keep getting updated on the upcoming events and the upcoming summer schools or semester abroad programs. And based on the interest of the individual, they can, he or she can opt for the kind of thing that fits in her program, in his or her program. There is a regular interaction with the industries just to promote and enhance the entrepreneur model that we so deeply promote. So through we not only send our students to industries, but we also have a very rich industry board with us, who mentor us, who go through our curriculum, and who also work on our curriculum and interact with our students, with us making them aware of the needs of the industries and also the needs of the education, how they can align, how education can align with the requirements that industries are having. Mandatory internship is an integral component, again, of our learning system, where a student is asked to spend 18 weeks outside the campus. And then this internship is aligned in a way that it suits the, not just the research aptitude, but also it aligns with the kind of major subject that the student opts for. Next slide, ma'am. So these are the 12 majors that we are running. We are offering to our students: psychology, literature, English literature, economics, advertising and PR, journalism, marketing, political science, philosophy, finance, business studies, sociology, and film, TV, and web series. And of course, in addition to this, we have a one-year provisional program of BU fellowship, which is completely research-oriented. Next slide. This is what I was talking about in my earlier slide, that internship is mandated. It is an integral component of our learning, where 16 to 18 weeks a student needs to spend outside the boundaries and the domains of the university. A student is also given an option to pursue internship with a faculty member at BU if the student is somehow reluctant to go outside. Next slide, ma'am. Center for Sustainability and Life Skills is one of the centers through which we promote not just the sustainability goals of the United Nations, but also try to encourage and cultivate the research aptitude of our young students. So this center has been doing quite a good amount of work, and we have also organized a number of workshops and conferences, information about which can be found on the website of the school. Our next conference, which somehow aligns with the Center for Sustainability and Life Skills, is going to take place in Sydney at the University of Wollongong. Next slide. Yeah, so we have a gig academy in place as well, where we introduce our students, not just the students of Bennett University, but students coming from outside the campus as well. We introduce them to the industry board members, and this is a 2-week program where they are taught and they are updated about the requirements of the industries, the kind of skills that industries are looking for, and in what way, and what are their expectations from us, from the students, from the younger generation. Next slide, ma'am. We have a very rich and vibrant young psychologist network in place, which takes care of the mental health issues that any of us might be facing. But at the same time, it also the aim of this network is also to promote and encourage a kind of an interdisciplinary research model that can take care of this mental health issues. And aligning to this particular young psychologist research network, we have, ma'am, if you could go move to the next slide, please. We have a medical humanities laboratory, which is going to be launched very soon. So this is India's first medical humanities laboratory. And the aim of the laboratory is to integrate the medicine and the humanities. What it is trying to do is to show both the medical practitioners and the students coming from humanities, the ways in which medicine and humanities can interact and collaborate to think about the different manifestations of illness and how to overcome them. So arts become here a kind of a therapeutical tool to mitigate the suffering and pain of the patient or someone who is suffering. Next slide. These are the members who are present on board of Medical Humanities Laboratory. It is, we have on advisory board, Professor Sangeeta Menon, who is the Dean of NIAS at ISC Bangalore. These are the international fellows we have from Dr. Angelica Carasdio from University of Oxford, Hiram Alam from Howard, Janet Wilson from Northampton, Dr. Stella Bolaki from Kent University, Dr. Claire Barker from Leeds, Jacob Estenga from University of Cambridge, and Tamara Felika from UMKC, Nebraska. Next slide. So what liberal arts can give you, that is its future pathways. What it tries to cultivate in our students is to polish up the analytical skills. With so much of information surplus in front of us, with the rise of digital technology, and the availability of Google, there is a possibility that we can get lost in that information overplus. So it's very important to have this kind of a polished and very refined analytical skill. And this analytical skill, in fact, leads to an enhanced form of critical thinking, where you can not just, you are able to see, but you are also able to read between the gaps and silences that are invisible. So we try to enhance that kind of a reading practice and that kind of a thinking practice in our learners, thus making them more broad-minded and making them see the invisible things and try to connect the missing dots. Liberal arts education also emphasizes a lot on promoting multiple perspectives, right? We believe, of course, we are driven by the ancient Indian philosophy that what does one know if one knows only one's tradition, and what does one know if one does not know others' tradition. So this multiplicity of perspectives is very important, because then it makes you aware of the shortcomings of your own ideas, of your own visions, of your own traditions. So this is not just to make someone aware of the shortcomings, but also in a way that how can something rich from the other traditions can be incorporated and be utilized in a better way. So how can, for that matter, how can different subjects that we have within liberal arts, there's these 12 majors, how can we make them interact with each other? How can we develop a kind of an idea that these different subjects, different though they might appear to be, in somehow they are interconnected to each other. The flexibility to design your own course, as I told you, is a hallmark of this BA Liberal Arts curriculum. And of course, the maturity and the decisiveness, these two components are integrally tied to the liberal arts pedagogy, because when you enhance your critical thinking, you become more mature, and you also polish this decision-making ability. Creativity is the soul of any art subject for that matter, because life itself is a creation. So creativity, if I have to put it in a way, then creativity is, within liberal arts perspective, can be a kind of thing that how can you make different subjects talk to each other? How can you create something out of these seemingly opposite subjects? So how can you use, for example, the stories of literature to pitch in your business proposal, right? How can you use the sociological background of any society to think about the mental aptitude of that particular society? Or how can you perceive the social intelligence or the psychological thought processes of any consumer to refine and reshape your economic models? So all these things are different examples of creativity that liberal arts advances and foregrounds. Communication skills is a very important element for not just for the employability skill, but also to develop and hone your own personality. And group skills, of course, it leads to the leadership. When we talk about group skills, we are talking about leadership skills. And our leadership course is going to be taught by the former Delhi Police Commissioner. And then I have already taken this critical thinking, which is the core of liberal arts. Next slide. Yeah, so that's it from my side. And I'm now passing it over to my colleague, Dr. Shalini Mittal, who will be shedding light on psychology. And then we will be passing it on to my friend, Dr. Andreas Wansbrough.
Thank you, sir. A very good evening to everyone who has joined in today. I'm Shalini Mittal, and I teach psychology at the School of Liberal Arts at Bennett University. And my area of specialization is psychosocial perspectives on gender and social minorities. Today, I'm here to share with you 2 anecdotes and to tell you about our approach at the School of Liberal Arts at Bennett University, wherein we try to maintain a balance between subjective and objective perspectives and between exposure to indigenous and global concepts and issues. So the first anecdote that I want to share with you all is of Lord Ganesha and Lord Kartikeya, who once decided to go on a competition, and they thought, let us see who can first go around the world twice and come back first. So Kartikeya ji immediately hopped on his peacock and he went around the world once, and then he went around the world twice. And he came back hoping to be first, but he saw that Ganesh was already standing there. And he asked him, how could you return so quickly? And Ganesha replied that the answer is very simple. You went around the world, whereas I went around my world, who are my parents. So at the School of Liberal Arts, our focus is to enable the individuals develop critical thinkings, help them understand the difference between my world and the difference between the world. And we aim at developing critical thinking skills among individuals, which will help them to understand objective perspectives on issues and also help them understand the subjective implications of the various issues for different stakeholders. Another anecdote that I want to share with you all is of a gymnosophist, a naked Jain monk, and of Alexander. So once Alexander met a gymnosophist and he asked him, what are you doing? And the gymnosophist replied, I'm experiencing nothingness. What are you doing? And Alexander replied, I am conquering the world. And both of them heartily laughed at each other, thinking that the other one is a fool. What they didn't realize that both of them grew up listening to different kinds of stories. Alexander grew up listening to stories like Homer's Iliad, stories that conveyed that we live only once and that we must live a great life. Whereas the gymnosophist grew up listening to stories of life beyond death, stories of karma, stories of never-ending cycle of life and death. Now, this brings me to the idea of liberal arts education in India, which is not very new. It existed, the liberal arts curriculum existed in India at the time of Nalanda University, Takshila University. However, post-colonization, in the first flush of freedom, there was a heavy focus on building infrastructure, on science and technology, because of which the field of humanities had suffered. However, people eventually realized that those leaders who are insufficiently schooled in liberal arts education, they cannot effectively deal with the social problems. So now there is a re-emergence of the liberal arts curriculum. And even though liberal arts schools are relatively new, they're becoming very popular. Bennett University is very popular in that context. And even the national education policy emphasizes the need for liberal arts by saying that liberal arts education enables one to truly develop both sides of brain, the creative side as well as the analytical side. Talking of psychology, which is one of the most popular disciplines within the liberal arts curriculum, it was formally introduced in India in the year 1905. Although our ancient scriptures are heavily laden with concepts that are psychologically very relevant, but eventually there was a lot of influence by European and American psychology as well. But we here at the School of Liberal Arts in Bennett University understand the relevance of both indigenous and global understanding and have designed our curriculum accordingly. Talking of career options related to psychology, there are various options that are available to psychologists in India. They could be working as clinical psychologists, as counselors, they could be working as child and adolescent psychologists, sports psychologists, military psychologists, and forensic psychologists, and they could also be working as policy consultants. If nothing else, they could be applying the principles of psychology in the field in which they might be working. It could be the field of developmental economics, or as Sir mentioned, that they could be applying the psychology principles to understand customer behavior or to pitch in their business proposal. Now, to conclude, it brings me back to the question of who is right, whether Alexander was right or whether the gymnosophist was right. And the answer is that both of them are right. Without a well-versed education in liberal arts, we would be pushed towards an environment of fundamentalism. So my submission is that it is only through a well-versed education in liberal arts that we can develop critical thinking skills and understand each individual within the context of his environment. So that would be all from my end. And I would now like to hand over to Professor Om.
Dr. Andreas' turn now, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I wanted to start with just a very simple question, a deceptively simple question. What is the human being? Now, of course, scientists will have an explanation for this. Biologists will say that human beings are a subspecies of primate. We're Homo sapiens, right? Which, of course, literally means, wise, right? Sapien means wise in this context, right? Wise people, right? Are we so wise, though, of course, is a question. With the creation of smartphones and the smart economy, increasingly humans are being rendered to look very, very stupid. We're constantly worried that our machines will replace us. Now, here's where liberal arts comes in. Liberal arts provides a framing by which we can understand these developments. If you ask someone who studied for liberal arts, what is a human being? They won't talk about the human composition in terms of chemistry or biology. They'll talk about the human being in terms of history, whether that's art, human beings being, as far as we know, the only species that creates art. They'll talk about human beings in terms of technique or technology. Human beings, as far as we know, are the only species to develop complex forms of technology that in turn shape and transform our society, right? The social theorist Karl Marx argued that human nature, and indeed nature generally, is not something that's fixed, it's not static, it's not unchanging. When we think of terms like human nature, we think of something that just stays still, right? That's frozen. And that's how we've often tended to think of knowledge, as something that is to be put into little categories, right? What liberal arts does is provide a framing by which we understand, or attempt to understand, the totality, that we understand things holistically. Now, I'm not going to tell you what jobs are going to be available in the future. The reality is, with technological developments and changes, we just don't know. Increasingly, Wikipedia pages are being edited by bots. Something like, some statistics put it at 25% of Twitter users are in fact bots, right? Bots are used to manage Wall Street. Bots are being used throughout the economy, right? And apparently professions that we used to think of as safe, like artist, for example, well, you have software like DALL-E, which purports to be able to create what you tell it to create, okay? So we don't know what's going to be safe, what professions are going to be touched or not. There's all sorts of predictions that, in fact, manual labor, forms of work with hands, are the ones that are, in fact, safe positions, while for so-called creative class are endangered. Certainly, if you had wanted to make a career writing listicles, you may be in trouble. I asked ChatGPT to come up with a film list of, and I tried to make it as idiosyncratic, as specific as possible. I said, English, name 10 English folk horror films with an artistic and experimental bent. And within probably 3 seconds, it created a list of 10 films with detailed explanations, right? But what the humanities can do in terms of insulating you and offering you some protection amid the global flux, amid the changes, amid what could be a very scary future, is precisely it can give you some degree of critical distance. So if you want to be, of course, smart, being smart is about responding to things within the system. If you're smart, you respond quickly. That's why smart technology is smart. It's good at communicating. We're not really endangered by artificial intelligence in terms of artificial intelligence becoming conscious, right? Elena Esposito, for example, has argued that artificial intelligence should be called artificial communication, because that's effectively what it is. It's bots being able to respond to you, being able to give, and us learning to be able to respond to bots effectively, right? That's most of what, or at least a good deal of what AI does. And of course, we are being shaped by the fact that technology is like an echo chamber. What we put in becomes enhanced. The thing about the echo is it gets louder and louder, right? But what the humanities can do is give us something different to just being smart, to responding within the system. It can allow us to step back and critically examine what's going on, right? And so in the course that I'm going to be offering with regards to Bennett, we'll be looking at how we understand things like artificial intelligence, but from a humanities perspective, where we'll be examining it through film, through literature, through philosophy, through religion and theology, trying to understand how and what sort of dilemmas it poses, and what aspects of ourselves it amplifies and changes and transforms. As Marshall McLuhan once argued, technology both extends and amputates us. We become ever more dependent on technology, but at the same time, technology becomes a mode by which we express and understand ourselves and gives us abilities that we previously didn't have. As Blaise Pascal once said, man is the weakest reed in nature, meaning that human beings have none of the innate capacities of other animals, especially predatory animals. Our hands aren't very good at ripping other animals apart. We had to invent spears and things like that to do that sort of thing. You know, I mean, I'm a vegetarian. I don't do that sort of thing. But nevertheless, that is the sort of thing. You know, we are quite weak as a species physically. And so we have to develop our intellects. And that's precisely why liberal arts is so important.
Thank you. Thank you, Andreas. Yeah, that was nicely summarized. And I like your idea of the interaction between humans and technology. So we become the tools, right, that we use, I think. We can put it this way. Yeah. Okay, fine. That's Deepshika, that's all from our side. We are open to questions if you have any. Hello. Deepshika, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I believe there was a network issue. I think we
Yes.
all are back. I think.
Yeah, so we are done with our part presentation, and if you could see any questions on the panel, or if you have any messages.
Yeah, I am giving certain answers already. So there was certain questions that a student has asked that he wants to do UPSC with this degree. So in which subject do he need to do specialization?
There's no predefined rule to clear UPSC. UPSC is a more of matter of your application rather than going for a particular subject, right? So one could go for any subject that he or she wants. And we have a range of 12 subjects. And UPSC is not just about one particular subject. You have the general studies as well that you have to take care of. Then there is an essay writing. So you need to ensure that you have your writing skills very polished. You have a very refined kind of a writing skill. So there are different requirements for the UPSC. But of course, we could give him a very simple, that student a very simplified answer, that we would be having this August onwards a group of IPS and IAS officers who would be coming to our campus to offer this course on leadership. And this could be an opportunity for those students who are planning to move into leadership area or into any kind of a bureaucratic services. They can use that opportunity to interact with these people that we are going to have on board, and then try to carve out their own pathways. But as far as the subject is concerned, it is more of a matter of choice rather than a matter of compulsion. So I should not tell anyone that what subject to choose. It's more whatever drives you, makes you more passionate, go for that subject.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering the question. And another question is liberal arts different from CUT, or CUT scorecard can be compulsory while applying to liberal arts? I believe I have given the answer to the question on the chat box. The student can have a look on.
Okay.
Another question is, can we choose any subject from liberal arts through specialization?
Yeah, of course. Yes. Any of the 12 majors that we have displayed during the presentation, right? So any of the 12 majors, they're all available and open for our students to choose from.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So I believe we are done with the questions. Yeah, there are certain more. What are the placements offered with the help of this degree?
This is a three-year program. So a 3-year degree program can, no 3-year degree program can give you immediate employability, right? So you have to build on to that. You have to pursue a master's degree. Then that will curate that future pathway that is required for the employability skills. But having said that, liberal arts education and the kind of liberal arts curriculum that we are incorporating, that we follow, it's very good enough to refine and polish their life skills, their critical thinking, their decision-making skills, leadership development. So all these things which cannot be, which they cannot, I'm sure, which learners cannot get in a very traditional kind of a learning environment or a kind of a traditional university. So with this kind of a curriculum that we have in place, what we are trying to cultivate in our learners is to make them more broad-minded and to make them more entrepreneurial in terms of thinking, how to make use of your knowledge to give back to society, not just as a profit-driven model, but as a kind of a civic engagement, the responsibility that each one of us has towards the society, right? So this 3-year degree program is more of is a kind of a curriculum that provides our students, our learners, to develop their holistic thinking, their critical thinking, their decision making, their leadership skills, and of course, then they have this option to go abroad and get updated and get new interactions, new insights into different cultures and different traditions, and learn what is needed out there outside this particular geographical domain. So this exposure and the kind of training that we require, that we provide, remains the hallmark of this program. For employability, we have to, the student whoever has asked this question, that a student needs to pursue the master's first.
Yeah, so our next question is upon this only. Do you offer masters too?
We are going to run it, not as of now. We are not offering masters right now. But we are not offering masters, not because we don't want to offer masters, but simply for the reason that we are just 3 years old. This liberal arts program is 3 years old. So our first batch will be graduating this coming July. So accordingly, we will redesign and we will launch our MA program, MA in different subjects. So we are very much open to that idea. It's not a no from our side.
Thank you, sir. Another question is, if I go for IS exam, what subjects are mandatory?
I think I've already answered this question.
Already answered the question.
Yes.
Yeah, another question is there any difference if I'll be doing this course then separate BA honors in psychology?
Yeah, it's different. And I think my colleague, Dr. Shalini, should be able to explain it more coherently. It's different for the simple reason that we have foundations courses in place, right? So my friend, Dr. Andreas, who is sitting here, he was talking about what does it mean to be human in this age of technological developments and advancement. So all these things are not to be taught, cannot be taught in a very traditional kind of a BA honors program, right? We have courses on environment and sustainability. We have courses on literature and assisted survival, on logic. We have courses on book reading in the forms of bibliophiles, right? And we have also courses on advertising and PR. So all these things, all these insights, no, it cannot be achieved or even thought of in a very traditional BA honors program. I think I have already answered your question. So Dr. Shalini, you don't need to take it on.
Yeah, our next question is, do you have any collaborations with any overseas university for doing masters after the BA Liberal Arts course in Bennett University?
As already pointed out, we have more than 78 MOUs signed with foreign universities. So there are not just one or two, there are lots and lots of universities. And most of them they offer MA, postgraduate and PhD programs. So that is very much an option available for them. And we have a collaboration in a way that also encourages our students to move from BA and pursue the master's abroad if they don't want to pursue it at BU.
Thank you so much, sir. Our next question is there any integrated program for the same?
This whole program is an integrated program. This whole program.
I believe she's asking for BU fellowship. I think that.
Yeah, BU fellowship is a 1-year program. So it's a kind of a 1-year program that focuses more on your research, building your research aptitudes. So you will be researching all sorts of topics and then coming back to the classroom and delivering seminars, arranging seminars for your cohort, right, for your peers, for your batchmates. So this is a kind of both kind of a research, a chance to develop your research skills, and also a chance to own your societal engagements, because you will be going out and engaging with society.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Our next question is, what is more valuable, doing MA from India or out of India?
There is not, as I think Dr. Shalini mentioned, that there should not be any sense of right and wrong, who was right or who was wrong. In the same way, there cannot be a black and white answer for this kind of a question, that whether pursuing MA from India is right or whether pursuing MA from abroad is right. It depends on your needs, your requirements. It depends on what kind of training you are looking for. And of course, it depends on what are the kind of exposures that one is looking for. And accordingly, one can align the interest with the options that are available. So I think there are a good number of institutions within India as well who can take care of your MA studies. And then there are lots and lots of institutions abroad who can who do offer good MA programs. But then it differs from programs to programs. Students must be having different interests. Someone must be wanting to pursue MA in sociology. Someone might be interested to pursue MA in literature. So every university has its own reputation and has its own recognition for which it is known for, right? So there cannot be, as I said, a black and white answer. You have to go for in accordance with the recognition of a particular university, for which subject it is more famous, for which subject it is known for. Right?
Thank you so much, sir. Another question is, can you please tell us that liberal arts collaboration with Delhi University? Is there any?
Delhi.
A student is asking if we are having any collaboration with Delhi University.
We don't have any collaborations with Delhi University, but our students have been regularly going out and presenting papers on the platform of Delhi University. And our faculty also, they go and present. They are regularly invited to DU colleges and also JNU for that matter. And we do have, right, but let me add, we have visiting faculty from DU and JNU, I forgot to add.
The question is, what are some specializations that student must pursue along with this degree to be able enough to receive the perks like going for masters abroad and opportunities?
Dr. Shalini, you go for this.
So like it has already been mentioned in the presentation, and while answering questions, that this is an integrated program and we are offering a curriculum which gives exposure of varied subjects, varied courses. So there is no specific requirement that is needed alongside this particular course. However, depending on the university where you might be applying for it for your master's, if they have a specific credit requirement, if they have a specific number of year requirement, keeping that in mind, you can maybe opt for the fellowship, optional fellowship program that we are offering at Bennett University, or you could opt for more electives and MOOC courses depending on your credit requirements.
Thank you so much, ma'am. As we are done with the questions, I just want you, Professor Om, if you could just give an idea about the mentor-mentee program that we are about to start, so that students will have an idea on this.
We have already initiated a mentor-mentee program, so that's already in place, and we have reached out to many of the students who have taken admissions. But for those prospective students who are amongst us, the School of Liberal Arts has recently started a mentor-mentee program just to take care of the individual requirements and also to make you aware of the kind of requirement that we have from you while you are making this transition from school level to a university level, right? So during this, the idea of this mentor-mentee program is to make you aware of our requirements from you, and also to make you updated on the reading list, and to keep on inviting you to the events that we are going to host henceforth. And there are lots and lots of events, in the public events, as well as in the seminar series that we are going to start recently with the University of Hyderabad, with the UNESCO chair, and it is going to be a seminar series on vulnerability, vulnerable lives, right? So this is a mentor-mentee program where you will get to know all of us more in a more comprehensive way, in a better way. And also the same stands true for us. We can know more about you, your requirements, your interests. What do you expect of us, and what do we want from you? And let's stay in touch. The email will be sent out by Dr. Shalini Mittal, and that email will contain the address of our colleagues and also the contact numbers. So feel free to drop in a message or to call us anytime. And we will, in case we miss your call, we will definitely respond. Right? But it's a kind of a program to encourage, to remove the barriers and to encourage more interactions and engagements. So while you are making this shift from the school to the university level, there will be plenty of changes that you are going to find in a different kind of a higher level education setup. So you can use this time period from May onwards until July end as a kind of a bridge which you could walk on to make a smooth transition, provided you stay in touch with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Professor Shalini, Professor Om. Now, I would just give you an idea about the admission process at Bennett University, as we are done with the questions. In case if you still have any questions, you can connect with us on my email ID that has been mentioned in the chat box, and on my number, which is also there available. I'll just give you an idea. For those students who have not applied yet to the university, they can go on the website, apply over there. You need to fill the application form, and after that we'll be screening your application, and we'll call you for the interview if you got screened. And the interview will happen online. On the basis of that, we will be shortlisting certain candidates as per our selection criteria. And if you got selected, we'll be sending you the provisional admission offer. Make sure that the seats are very limited for this program, and we are focusing on having quality students only, and we'll be selecting the students on the basis of that. Apart from this, once your provisional seat is confirmed, once your 12th results are out, you are required to upload your 12th scores on the application form. On the basis of that, we'll be giving you the scholarships. Scholarships are very good at the Bennett University. We are providing up to 75% of the scholarship on the basis of merit. The criteria of scholarship, I have sent it on the chat box. It is available on our website. And there are certain other scholarships as well. For example, sports scholarship, sibling scholarship, defense scholarship, and certain other scholarships available. So if you have any doubts, you can have a conversation with us anytime. Let me know if you have any questions. You can raise your hands, or you can ask the questions in the chat box. I think we are done with it. Let us close the session then.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Andreas.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank
joining.
you very much. Thanks.
Enjoy your time.
Thanks, Andreas.